Hi, this is Rabbi Tzvi Mandel, and this is story number 2, Pesach story number 2, about the great, wondrous tzaddik, Reb Leib Saris, Reb Leib, the son of Sarah. And the story goes as follows. As Reb Leib Saris got older, he took along with him a helper by the name of Reb Azriel from the city of Polotsk in Poland, who was in fact himself a great man and a student of the Mizritcha Maggid. And he would relate the following story. Once he went with Reb Leib Saris to an inn, and they stayed in this inn overnight, and the next morning the Reb Leib Saris tells Reb Azriel to call the innkeeper into him, who was a Jewish man, and he had a very prosperous business. The man comes and he says to him, I want you to go to the Duke, who lives on the other side of town, and bring him to me. Tell him that Leib, the son of Saris, wants to speak to him. The innkeeper thinks to himself, oh no, I don't know who this man is. He looks very holy, but any Jew that ever walked in the neighborhood of the Duke usually didn't come back alive. And the Duke himself, who comes from royal blood, never saw the face of a Jew in his life. And so he says to Reb Leib Saris, sir, I don't know who you are. Obviously, you're a great and holy person. And before he could finish the sentence, Reb Leib Saris says to him, you better do as I say. My name is Leib ben Sarah. If not, God forbid, you'll have tsaris. And he goes home and finds his wife and children already almost very ill, we should say. And he runs back to Reb Leib Saris and says, Rabbi, whatever you say, I will do. And he says, well, go to the Duke at once, and your wife and children will be healthy, and you won't have what to worry about. And he runs to the neighborhood over there, and miraculously, nobody stops him. He goes to the Duke's palace, knocks on the big doors, and the guard is watching the door and says, Jew, what are you doing here? And he says, I must speak to the Duke at once. And the Duke happens to be walking by and says, what is it that you want? And he says, I come here as a messenger for an elderly Jew. His name is Leib, the son of Sarah, and he's asking the Duke to come to him immediately. The Duke right away says, yes, I'm coming immediately. Just wait here, I'll change my clothes, and I'm coming with you. And the Jew was already, it's unbelievable. And sure enough, he comes and didn't even take his horse and wagon, but rather they ran together to come to the inn. And the Duke goes into the room where Reb Leib Saris was. Reb Leib Saris says to the innkeeper to go away, and he's in there with him for a number of hours. And then the Duke goes back to his palace. The innkeeper never knew what the story was about, what the conversation was about, but at a short time before Pesach, before Passover, a non-Jewish worker from the inn disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to him. And of course, the local clergy decided to blame the Jewish people, and the word went out that this elderly rabbi that was there for a short time had taken the worker and killed him so that they could make the special matzah for the holiday of Passover. Well, the local clergy ran to the inn. He couldn't find this person and found out that he had left a long time before. He reports to the Duke that the innkeeper is a murderer, or at least had access to a murderer, and therefore must be killed. They immediately throw him into the dungeon. And a date was set for when they were going to kill him. Meanwhile, the day that they were going to kill him, the Duke had to sign this decision also. But he says, today I can't sign the decision. As you know, today's my day that I go to the local places where they sell horses, the local horse sale area. And in fact, this Jew is a professional horse person. He understands horses, and I need him to come with me. Guarantee you, when we finish buying all the best horses that I could afford, I will definitely give him back in your hands, and if you still want him killed, I'll be more than happy to sign the decision. Okay? This Jew goes with him, and for weeks on end, he's protected and watched by all the Secret Service, as it was. And one day, as he is there picking horses, the best horses for the Duke, guess who he meets? The old Christian worker from the innkeeper. And the guy runs to him and says, please, please, Master, I'm so happy to see you. Obviously, God sent me here. And he says, where have you been? Did I treat you that badly? So he says, no, you treated me better than a father and a mother could treat me. But I have to tell you what happened. The local priest was bothering me for years and years to come with him to a certain place where they'll give me a house and they'll give me land of my own. And I always refused it because I knew that you are better to me than anyone. And I wanted to stay with you. And one night, not long ago, the priest comes with his henchmen, and without even saying anything, they drag me out of bed, take me and put me on the wagon and tie me up, and they closed my mouth so I can't scream, and they brought me to some area that I was never in my life, and here I go from day to day looking for a meager meal or a couple of coins so that I could buy a meal, and right now I'm famished. What's going to be with me? So the innkeeper says to him, come with me, and I'm busy buying the Duke very fancy horses that he likes, and you'll come with me. Anyway, he comes, and finally they finish with all the buying of all the horses, and the Sultan and the innkeeper go on the wagon, and the horses start driving wildly, like out of control, and the innkeeper says to the Sultan, I know of a fella that's a very good wagon driver, and he'll know how to control the horses. He says, okay, please get him. He's in fact from our area, and he goes back to the tavern and picks up his old worker. As soon as he took the reins, everything went normally. And while they were sitting on the wagon, excuse me, the Sultan says to the innkeeper, remember that old Jew that stayed by you one night? He says, of course I remember him. He says, he was a very, very special, great person. I'd like to relate to you what he told me. He told me that one day when this person will be suspected by the local clergy as being a murderer, don't listen, don't sign against him, and say that you had to go buy horses, and that's why I brought you with me, so that I could go with you to buy horses. But from here on, I don't know what to do, because obviously we're going back to our town and the clergy is going to want to kill you. So this great tzaddik, this great rabbi, what did he accomplish if you're going to get killed anyway? So the innkeeper says to him, Your Highness, the wagon driver that we just took, he'll give you the answer to this question. Okay. And when they come there, he asks the wagon driver, what's the story? And the wagon driver says, I'm the person that they suspected that he killed. Here I am alive. So the Sultan, so the Duke says, now I understand the full story. And they go into the court, and everybody couldn't believe their eyes because the dead person is there. Like the Talmud says, Ba Harag Baraglov, the killed guy comes by himself walking into court. Sure enough, they killed the priest, and the Jew was saved. And there was another miracle from a great holy tzaddik, the Heilig Reb Leib Saras, Schusa Yagan Aleinu, Akal Yisrael, Amen. That was story number 2. Next, YouTube will be story number 3, Pesach Story.